I'm here on behalf of the father, Jeff Metcalf.
Okay.
What he's asking you is to not use his son's image or likeness in what you're doing. You can do what you do, but that's not what he wants his son tied to.
He needs to be righteous before he is fearful. He is acting out of fear, not out of righteousness. He should have been on the top of the bus today. My community is being victimized by the community of violent, black, absolute degenerates.
So, in light of all of this, that the Austin Metcalf and Carmelo Anthony situation, there's a white man, I believe he's a former January Sixer. He's starting to organize a big protest that he wants to do. I think it's called Protect White Americans protest. And so he's doing this protest. It was kind of a flop. Not many people showed up, and I don't think many people are interested in this, but some people did show up. Jeff Metcalf got wind of this guy doing this protest, and he's completely against it. So he has a friend that he sent out to talk to this guy, because I don't believe they're in the same place, to talk to this guy and tell him to stop this protest, or not even stop the protest, to leave my son's name and our situation out of what you're doing, because it's not right.
Security footage to reduce violence in black communities.
Thank you. I stand with you, sir,
on a regular basis. But today, I'm here on behalf of the father, Jeff Metcalf.
Okay.
And what he's asking you is to not use his son's image or likeness in what you're doing. You can do what you do, but that's not what he wants his son tied to.
Okay.
Out of respect for that family.
Now I would ask Jeff Metcalf if he would be bold enough to act like a father of a deceased young man that was murdered, instead of being somebody suppressed, worried that he's going to spark the next race riots or some type of thing. He needs to stand for righteousness, not for the consequences of righteous actions always need to be taken seriously. He needs to be righteous before he is fearful. He is acting out of fear, not out of righteousness. He should have been on the top of the bus today. He should have been standing shoulder to shoulder with me.
Are you a father?
No, I am not.
You're not I'm a father. Hold on.
Amen.
I'm a father. As a father, there is this thing called grief. So let me tell you what's going on in his house. He's getting swatted. His only other son.
Who is swatting him? Which community?
No, we don't know the community, but it's happening. That's on the police to find. Secondly, he has a son who's a twin, who his son died in his arms. So that means he needs to navigate that. Then his son, who's his only son, is getting death threats. So as a father, his hands is full. So the last thing he wants to be tied to is having this complex of race. So yes, violence is bad. Young black men are getting killed every day by young black men across this country.
Yes, but I'm not a member of that community. I'm a member of my community, and my community is being victimized by the community of violent, black, absolute degenerates.
But here's the problem.
They're degenerates.
When you stand up in the name of God, there's one body.
Amen.
And if you're not a part of that body,
I can read statistics. So I'm also a pragmatic human being.
So
I understand when there's a problem, it needs to be addressed head on. If you tiptoe around a problem, that's how you get to the end result.
So your
of
biggest
this.
concern is the loss of white life by black people?
No, that's not my big. I have concern.
The concern is a repeating pattern. It doesn't stop. It just keeps going on and on and on and on. And we just can't ignore it any longer. If it stops, we're good.
So
let me answer that question.
Do you believe more white people are killed by white people or by black people?
Listen, by strangers, it's 2 to 1. Every single race in domestic issues, because we live amongst each other and uncles kill uncles or drunk at barbecues and stuff like that, it's always the same amount.
So your response is
let me respond, please. Please let me respond.
Your response that Mr. Metcalf needs to get on your bus and tell people
if I was him, I would do it.
But he's not you. So what I'm saying
is, I'm telling you, I'm somebody that stands for what I believe in, and I don't cower when it's time to stand.
If your desire,
it's because of fear.
My desire is that another Austin Metcalf does not happen next week. Like, guys, if I was his father, I would stand righteously to say, yes, but I'm a man.
We all have common sense, and we know. Hold on, we know. I'm not
speaking for white men.
I'm not going to say
for white people in this country.
Are you a father?
Hold on one second.
Are you a father?
Hold on one second.
Are you a father?
I'm not, but listen. I'm not done talking yet. Hold on.
Who are not dealing with grief. You've talked for an hour. So if you want to address,
Here's the thing. is that there's nothing wrong with doing a protest. You're allowed to do a protest. It's whatever, okay? It's your First Amendment right. Go ahead and do that. But it is completely disrespectful for you not to at least have the courtesy to honor this man and just say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do my protest. I'm going to go ahead and do my protect white Americans or whatever he's doing. I'm going to go ahead and do my protest, and I will take your son's name and face off of this whole thing. Because what he is doing is he is using Austin's tragedy to up his number of
agenda.
people coming to his his little rally thing.
This is what Black Lives Matter wanted, though.
Yeah, they
wanted white people, because for a while, white people have really taken the high road.
Yeah,
I mean, honestly, for the last 20 years,
have,
they've been trying so hard to get white people to be Klan members and to come out and say this they've been trying to push Post the Bear so they can get some white person to come out and say something just crazy. You know what I mean? And do something crazy so they can now say, oh, look, see, I told you the Klans don't matter.
Yeah.
And so, it's going to eventually happen because, Black people won't stop talking about it.
Right.
But this whole idea is like, okay, so you don't really care about white people because if you cared about white people, you would care about this white man and his son, his white son.
Right.
What you're doing is using this situation for your own pride and your own glory.
Yeah, your agenda.
So you can walk around and say, look what I've done. You know what I mean? And a lot of people do this. Like they try to, Black Lives Matter did it. The Patrice Cullors, they were all doing it too. Black people are killing each other left and right, and they're going to pick one cop or even two cops that killed a black man and make that like all white people. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's just after a while, these types of people just kind of get on your nerves because at the core of all this is called individual responsibility. In which a lot of people don't. I agree with him on the fact that black men kill more
That's
statistically true. So he's not wrong about that. But if you're going to sit here and pretend like you care about white people, and then the instant you see this grieving white father, and then turn around and call him a coward. This man just lost his son. He's the head of a family. He's got a son that's living that he's dealing with. It's probably his mother grieving. You know what I mean? He's got to deal with the court case and probably people being doxing him and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Here is a man who is trying to deal with that, a white man. Another white man, and here you're calling him a coward, and you don't even have kids.
You just called him a coward.
You were the guy behind him.
You called him well, first of all, his father's handling things in a godly way. See, that's part that I think that's the miss. You're missing that part of it here, Jake. Yeah. His father is dealing with this thing in a Christian way. Yeah. And that might just go over your head. I don't know if he's Christian or not, but there's a way that you do things that can drive home a powerful message without having to go and line the streets with, your chance of, protect white Americans and we're being victimized, blah, blah, blah. Like, you're allowed to do that. I'm saying do it. I'm saying go for it. But you know why? Because I believe in the First Amendment. I'm not saying don't do it. But I've said this a million times on the show, and most people know how I feel about this. I do not like protesting. I don't think that it is productive. I think all it does is get everybody all round up. What usually ends up happening is that someone either gets injured, things get damaged, you get put in jail, or you die. Yeah. That's what happens. With all the protests over the history of time, this is what happens. And so I think that what he's going to do, or what he's trying to do, it didn't work. What he's trying to do is provoke this from white people to come now and, do this whole I didn't like when Black Lives Matter did it, and I'm not going to like it when this white protest thing is
And a lot of this stuff is propped up by white people.
It is, yeah.
Like a lot of this black victimhood is being propped up by white people like Jane Elliott and all of these white liberals who have white guilt and all of these news stations that are owned by white people that are allowing this to be put on like an echo chamber, like just going back and forth. You know what I mean? And he's not, he needs to talk with his own people about the damage they have done with propaganda. Right. You know what I mean? Because look, when it comes to black people, I say most of the time, I'm like, oh God, as soon as I see a black person. But I'm saying that a lot of this propaganda black people have been dealing with or have been taking in and taking it as truth comes from white people. Right. White communist, Marxist people who are looking for race wars. Yeah. Because most communism is created by division and anger. That's how they do it.
And throughout history, white liberals have been the big catalyst of these things. So and so I do.
So how do we know he's even?
Yeah,
he's probably going to say he's conservative. But how do we know that?
How do we really know?
You know what I mean? How do we know that it's just not the enemy?
Yeah, with your
coming in to stir the pot while there is a chance to do it because it's fresh off.
Because that does happen.
It does happen.
Not honoring this man's. All he's saying is take his son's name away from this.
You know what I mean?
Yes, keep it to the facts of the case. Stop trying to piggyback off of someone's death to to get your agenda going.
Yeah, I mean, then also I think the reason why I think white people in general have won the DEI.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I mean, like DEI struck down, like it didn't work. You know what I mean? And even affirmative action, all of this stuff has, because of people like Charlie Kirk who stick on facts. Because once, like you did with that video we shot with the black kid who then had to read the facts about black homicide.
Right.
And I just thought to myself, once you just stick with the facts, you've won. You know what I mean? And then you really can't fight anymore. You know what I mean? What can you fight when you see that but when you start to then act like us, when we're out there protesting, then you become us. And then you can't distinguish between the two. You know what I mean? And again, if you really care about white people, and I think he's shocked. Yeah. Maybe he wasn't expecting this black man to walk
I don't think so either. Yeah.
He didn't know it was about that guy's.
He didn't know that he was been sent out by Jeff, and Jeff knows this man, so he probably was like, oh, shoot.
The bottom line is this. You have a father that's out of respect asking you not to put his son's face in a place. How do you say you're going to represent people when you can't respect the will of the people?
No, let me respond, guys. There's too much peanut gallery.
That's not what his father said. His father did not say that.
Can we please let me respond?
His father's not. No, listen. His father because of fear.
I'm having a conversation between you and I. Listen to this.
Yeah.
Austin Metcalf is no longer Austin Metcalf. He is a symbol. He is a symbol of young white people being predatorized and victimized every single day, living in fear. He is living in fear. Our people in this country are living in fear. Austin Metcalf is no longer just his son.
So he's turning into black people.
So he just
now
made
you guys. Now this is what happens.
White people, listen up. Listen to what he just said. He's trying to turn you all into the victim and having a victim mentality. All you have to do is say that your people are being victimized, and then you become the new black people.
Yeah, because this is what they did with George Floyd. When I can't remember it was a famous person, Dio Hooley or something, and they said someone laid out the fact that George Floyd was a criminal most of his life. You know, he did some violent things to the black community. So how is he getting gold caskets and 3 funerals and being memorialized all through the world? And they said the same thing. He's not his past. He's a symbol of how black people get treated and how they're afraid of white people every day. Now he sounds exactly
just like that.
Like that.
He literally
just said that.
And
right? You know what I mean?
Don't ever call someone's dead son a symbol.
I wish you would call my child. My child died and you called them a symbol.
It's profoundly inappropriate for him to say that.
Hold on, Jeff, do me one favor. Because there seems to be an issue that you're okay with Austin's name being plastered with this particular movement. Now, I've already addressed that. So now I want you to say one more time
protest, not
that
the movement.
Do you agree with your son's name and face being attached to this movement?
Hey Jeff Metcalf, this is Jake Lang here. I wanted to talk to you and not be led into a question. This is an illegal argument. This is called leading.
Do you agree with
Jeff,
your son?
can I have a conversation with you, or do you want a leading argument?
You could have called him before that. You could have called him.
I've been reaching out. I'm one of the biggest figures in America.
Jeff,
Nobody's ever
I've given you a message. I've given you your message.
I texted all family members, everybody I could find.
I've given you your message, and here's the response.
You've not given my message. You've given your message.
What he said was this.
Issue with the event?
What he said was this. He said that you, as a father, should be on the bus with him, delivering the message that he's delivering. Unfortunately, he's not a father, and the gentleman with is not a father. Maybe they don't understand what loss is. But at the end of the day, I've given your message.
You understand what loss is.
And they thought that it wasn't your message.
Let me have 1 minute of my message
Call
to Jeff
him.
Metcalf.
Call him.
Okay, what's his number?
Bullshit, he's on the phone right now.
So Jeff, do you?
This is not a good faith discussion.
Okay, hold on. Here's Jeff. Hold on. So Jeff, go ahead. Go ahead, Jake.
Hey Jeff, it's Jake Lang here.
Yes, sir. What can I do for you?
Jeff, first of all, my entire heart rests in your hands. I would be in my position, not even as somebody even knew your son, but somebody that shares the same understanding. I grew up as a 17-year-old young white man too, and I grew up in fear of my life around black people because they were killing and robbing people around me all the time. And I don't understand, as I was a father, you could sit idly by and not condemn the culture that killed your son. There is an epidemic problem in this country, and your voice could be one of the loudest voices in this country, but you've chosen to recoil out of fear and continue the suppression. Why will you not stand with me and with the rest of the people? We're not calling for racial divide. We're not calling for hatred. We're saying 350,000 attacks on white people by black people a year in this country is wrong. Why can't you stand that and say with that? Maybe you can. Would you be willing to stand by me in a press conference or in an individual interview and talk about this issue that is larger than Austin at this point? God rest the beautiful young man's soul that would have been one of our strongest voices if he was still alive today.
Are you done?
Yes, I am, sir.
Okay, my turn to speak. You are part of the fucking problem, my friend. You're trying to create more race divide than bridging the gap. I do not condone anything you do. You do not have any fucking...
That's called white guilt.
No, let it talk.
My son, let me finish. I gave you your time. You take my son's face off your website. I am not associated with you.
You're creating more Austin Metcalfs with your weakness, sir. You are creating more Austin Metcalfs with your weakness.
You are being weak. I gotta be honest with you about that, sir.
You're being weak. Condemn your son's killer and the culture that caused it.
Hey, Jeff.
That's the problem. You've been submitted.
Hold on, Jeff.
You've been submitted.
I'll handle it from here.
You've been submitted, sir.
Right.
You're not gonna make
if
us
we were
back
all,
down.
if we were all of your
back
nature,
down.
Guys, listen.
You're
Let me
not
say
gonna
this.
shame
what a
us.
weak
You're not
man.
Do you know who you're talking to?
I'm talking to a black man.
You don't. No, you're not.
Okay.
You sit here. You talk about Trump.
But I am. You're not
Google
gonna
my
make me
name
back
and
down.
Trump. No. When you do that, my name is Bruce
I agree with black males winning,
Google that.
but they're not winning
but
right
what
now.
You're doing,
they're becoming
What
degenerates.
you're doing
and murdering white people.
You're not helping America. You're no more patriotic than I am. No
Being
way.
silent is
Where
not
were you
helping.
on January
You've been
6th?
silent. It's only gotten worse.
Where were you on January 6th?
You've been silent. It's only gotten worse.
Where were you? Did you stand for your country
So you
when they
think that
stole our
made you
vote?
patriot because you showed up there? Does that make you a patriot?
Joe
What's your
Biden
solution?
Joe Biden is a
All you're doing is
pedophile.
condemning us. What's your
My
solution?
solution is to help people where they're weak. So we have an issue in young black males' lives across the country.
It's not.
It
Say that to
matter.
Jeff
Nothing's changed.
Metcalf.
It's
Say
getting
that to
worse.
Jeff Metcalf.
We talk about it, man.
Say it.
At the end of the day,
so
the man
what
is
is
asking.
his-
So let me ask you this: you got a father who's grieving, and your response is he's weak.
My father is celebrating my strength.
Because this behavior is why we're in the situation where we are.
No.
We get these. Is that what it is? Okay. Well, at the end of the day, he's asked you what to do and what not to do.
Listen,
you have a right to
he's
do
no
it or not.
longer
do it.
Austin Metcalf.
But yeah, so the black man is right though.
Did you see how the white guy turned on his Jeff? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Metcalf. He turned on him. I grieving your son as a young white man. See how they are? Like this is how
Same sentence,
This is
you're a
how
coward.
this is how people who don't live in Christ talk.
Yeah, it's
you know what I
true.
mean? It's because they talk out of two sides of their mouth. They're double-minded. A double-minded man in the Bible is unstable.
Yeah.
The Bible says.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so when someone says they're sorry and then shows all this grievance, tries to connect with you on your whiteness.
Yeah.
Which is what he was trying to do. And then as soon as that white man, because this happens with us with black people, as soon as that white man didn't agree with him, then he wasn't white no more to him. He's a loser and he's a coward. And this is what happens to Danielle. This is how I know that Jeff is right.
Yeah.
It's because this happens to Danielle and I. Whenever we're queens, but the instant they hear us say the truth about black crime, and we say the truth about single motherhood.
Oh yeah, we're tap
then
dancing.
We're coons, bed wenches. Yeah. We're no longer black, and this is what happens. This is how you know he's wrong. Is because he's only with you if you are for everything he's saying on his agenda. So he doesn't really like white people. He only likes white people who think like him. Yeah. The same as Al Sharpton. Yeah. The same as Jesse Jackson. The same as anybody. They're only with you if you believe you're only black. Is if you think like black people, the hive mind. You think like black people think. If I don't think like the majority of black people, which I don't, then I'm no longer black to black people.
This man, Jake Lang, he found his moment of a black crime happening to a white person. He's doing exactly what the Black Lives Matter people do. As long as there's a racial element to it, they will make it racial, right? And so the truth of all this is, as the factual for right now, what we know is that during the altercation, the stabbing of Austin Metcalf, from what the witnesses are saying so far, is that there was no racial anything, slurs. Nobody on both sides. Austin didn't say any racial slurs, and either did Carmelo. So this isn't even a racial thing. He's making it one. Everyone's making it one now. This is a young man that has been stabbed to death, and he has got to be justice has to happen for this kid. Not because he's white, because he got stabbed to death.
He got shot twice. When that black man said to him, he said, "Who do you think you're talking to?" "I'm talking to a black man." "No, you're talking to a man."
Yeah.
See how it shocked him again.
Yeah,
because he thought that because
you're only seeing color.
Because black people always bring their race in before they talk about. Like, that's why I don't like to be called a black conservative. Yeah. I'm just a conservative. There is no difference between me and
anybody else.
Matt Walsh.
Which, by the way, so far his protest really was like, meh. It didn't really do much because there's some because most white people, thank God, are sane and are not going to fall for the okie doke. Hopefully, are not going to fall for the okie doke on this, because you can see when someone's trying to reel you in to a race war, and this is what we're seeing right here. Okay, and I'm not saying that Jake Lang is kind of weird white supremacist. I'm not saying all that.
No, but Charlie Kirk.
Yes,
I mean, and I can see that from a mile away. I mean, you know what I mean. Trump won because Trump. Believe me, if America really cared about race, then Kamala Harris would have won. Yeah, because that's all she talked about was race and and sex. That's all she talked about. Right. You know what I mean? But Trump won because he talked about America, and he talked about America over and over again. And guess what? 65% of Native Americans voted for him. Black people ended up voting for him more than any other Republican in the last 20 years. Hispanics was like 50%. And why? It's because most people think of themselves as American. If they're being real honest with themselves,
I feel like
then they're black and Hispanic and all that other stuff. But at the core of everything, the things that happen in this country happen to all of us because we're all citizens of the country. You know what I mean? So when you start trying to make everything about race, regardless if you're black, white, Hispanic, what you do is you make a buffoon of yourself. The reason why DEI got struck down, the reason why really white people kind of won the argument on DEI and affirmative action is because black people sound like morons. Yeah. The too much of this, we were slaves and stuff, it gets after a while becomes redundant. And Trump won. What he's trying to do is start a fight to get followings for himself.
And I don't think that that's the right answer to this. I think that when because what you're going to do is start,
like, Trump's not going to say that. He thinks that Trump is going to come out and
he better stop talking about Trump.
Trump's like, I'm not going to divide this country up with rhetoric.
I'm going to tell you right now, he's driving around in a bus wrapped in Trump, pictures and stuff, right? Even like when we first talked about in our previous video, when we began the conversation about Austin and Carmelo, I didn't say black teenager Austin or black teenager Carmelo stabbed white teenager Austin at a sports event. I didn't say that. I never even mentioned race. Yeah. And you know why I didn't mention race? Because it's not the important element to this. It's not the important element. The important element right now is to make sure this kid gets justice for the heinous crime that happened to him. But I don't think that it is logical to me to start a whole race war. And I think that's what he's poking at right here. And
when someone does something that out of their heart, you can see it. I could tell when his father was talking, he was talking from his heart.
Yeah, his father was.
He wasn't talking about race or anything. I mean, his son is the one who died. You know what I mean? He could have said a lot of things. Yeah. He could have been real angry.
He said, "You're the one to start this." His initial, his father, Jeff Metcalf's initial interview with that news station we played, he even said, this is not about black, white, Hispanic. It's not about that. This is about, doing what's known as right and wrong, raising your children right, and, being a person of God and forgiving. And he talked in that sense. He talked in more of a godly sense. And so when I'm hearing him talk to this guy, I can tell that Jake is not usually met with the word of God like that. Like, he's not usually met with that kind of character. And so while it is okay to protest, because it's your First Amendment right, and I will never tell someone not to protest, at all. I would never tell anybody to do that. I just don't think that what he's doing is going to be productive, and it wasn't. It's not really gaining much.
I don't think what he's doing has honor.
Yeah,
I don't think what he's doing is honorable. I think he's doing it to be self-indulgent.
Yeah, it is.
Because he flipped on Jeff in a moment, right there on the phone. He wasn't even on the phone that long.
He's white.
He flipped on him. He tried to appear to his ego by telling him, "Oh, your son was a great white kid," and try to be his friend and try to pull him in so he can say the next thing so he can use his image.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then the father didn't agree with it. You know why? Because he's older. He's lived life. He's raised a family. He's got wisdom. He knows Christ. And so he's like, you know what? Look, you're another kid trying to get your trying to get your legs.
Yeah.
In this world of politics is what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And you're trying to drag my son with you so you can do it. And you're not going to do it. Look, let's be honest. When things like this happen to black people grab onto these kind of people.
But black people love it when black people's face is slapped on there.
Well, I'm just saying, George Floyd, for instance. George Floyd's family, he didn't really talk to his whole entire life. That's why he ended up the way his life ended up.
Yeah.
But as soon as he died, his family grabbed on, got money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they all started talking to your Ben Crumps and all of that. And and whenever this happens with black people, black people grab onto the black leaders. And they let they allow black leaders to take their victims' son or uncle or whatever it is and plaster it all over the world. And he probably thought if he did this the white way, a white man would do it too. And a white man said, no.
Right. I don't want to do that.
I don't want to. Oh, well, since you're not doing what since you're not doing what I see black people do, then you're just a sellout.
Yeah.
That's what he's doing. He's calling him a sellout because he doesn't agree.
Right. And he has that black man with you see that black man's fighting for the white protest thing too. He has that black man with him because he wants to show how right he is, that even a black man's going to be standing with him.
Which is probably
right. And that's kind of like that's like a tactic.
Jeff has black friends too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Obviously.
It's just like, obviously. You know what I mean? And he was just like, he was shocked. He thought that this black man was coming up to just tell him to stop. You know what I mean? And he didn't realize that the very person he's trying to use for his agenda doesn't want him to use it. Yeah. And now he got egg on his face in front of a lot of people.
Jake is doing two things wrong. He's bringing Trump into it. And he's bringing Austin into it. That's two wrong things. If you want to go and do a protest called Protect All White People, then be man enough to go ahead and just do a protest like that. Yeah. Don't piggyback and try to have
White Lives Matter.
Yeah. Don't just try to have Trump's. Trump didn't co-sign this.
Trying to use popular people of the time to further his agenda is cowardly.
That's cowardly.
There is no honor in that. You know what I mean? That's cowardly, and there is no honor in a man who does that. A man who has no children.
Right.
With a backup singer here who also has no children, trying to use men who have children and trying to, one leading the country, the other one trying to lead his family. And these two ain't leading nothing.
Right.
But another problem we have to deal with people in America. You know what I mean? And the thing is, it's just like,
they're all going to profit off of this being a black.
Profit.
But okay, look, if there was if this situation was two white boys or two black boys, we would hear nothing about this.
Right.
I don't know, you guys let us know what you think. Do you think that they're having this protest is going to be helpful? I mean, like, we have white subscribers. Do you guys think that it's about time? Do you feel like that it's about time that we have a protest for white people? Or do you think that he's starting kind of like a unnecessary race.
He's trying to go viral.
Yeah. Let us know what you think. Leave some comments below, and we'll see you guys in the next video.